Neama Rahmani is with us. In Tampa, Florida, criminal defense attorney Teresa Jean-Pierre Coy, and in West Palm Beach, Florida, the state attorney for Palm Beach County, Florida, Dave Arenberg. Welcome to you all. All right, Neama wants 40 years. I know that already. So, but let's start here. The judge has a lot of discretion here. We're talking about a presumptive sentence of 12 and a half years. Probably end up serving about 8 and change or so. Up to 40 years if he finds these aggravating factors. Neama, I just want your initial take on this whole process. Ultimately, prosecutors are here to administer justice. So where should we be looking here? What should be happening here?
Vinnie, I think an upward departure is absolutely appropriate. We talked about those Blakely or aggravating factors. 12 and a half years is woefully insufficient. I don't know what Attorney General Ellison and his team are going to do, but I think something 25 or north is what they should be asking for. 12 and a half for me, for the cruelty, for the inhumane treatment, for really the execution of George Floyd. That would be a travesty of justice and a miscarriage, in my opinion.
Yeah, and there were no children there.
Yeah, but a 9-year-old child saw George Floyd get murdered before her eyes, and she begged and pleaded with Derek Chauvin to release the pressure. That was one of Blackwell's strongest arguments during closing. So I think that's one of the factors that absolutely matters. I mean, let's not forget, this is a murder done under color of law. This is a murder done by an officer wearing a badge, and he kept bystanders, including an off-duty firefighter, at bay and threatened to mace her. This is not Mohammed Noor, who made a terrible decision and reacted in a completely inappropriate way to reach across his partner and shoot into the darkness. That was reckless. That was that depraved mind. But we're well past that. So I think the child, I think the cruelty and for the way George Floyd had to suffer those seizures before he died, I mean, those are factors that take this case well out of the Noor case. And that's why I think the sentence should be twice as long.
Teresa, initially there was almost a plea agreement reached in all this. And what Chauvin wanted was he agreed to, and I think the state, these are the reports that were made, that the state had agreed to 10 years. Chauvin agreed to 10 years, but Chauvin wanted to serve the 10 years in federal prison rather than state prison. Why is that? Are you guys soft on criminals in prison? What's the difference?
It's club fed, Vinny. It's much better to serve your sentence in federal prison. Generally speaking, the conditions are going to be a lot nicer, a lot less crowded, a lot less violent criminals in federal prison because of the nature of the crimes that are charged in federal court. So I understand why Derek Chauvin wanted a sentence. It would have been state charges, but he would have served his time in federal prison, and he would have avoided federal civil rights charges. Now he's stuck in the SHU or the segregated housing unit or special housing unit, depending on the state that you're in, and it's going to be a pretty miserable 12 and a half, 25 or more years for him that he serves in prison.
Yeah, and this is a lesson, right? This is why you get an offer for 10 years and you don't get everything you want. Looking back on it, he's going to be thinking, maybe I should have taken the 10 years and let me serve wherever I go.
But Vinnie,
he wanted to, though, but Bill Barr rejected that deal.
That's right. I was going to add that. Yeah. Bill Barr is the one who said no. He wanted it. His lawyer gave him good advice to take it, but it was Bill Barr who said no.
That was because there would be no federal investigation. But
sure.
Roll your dice with the federal investigation and take the 10 years. I mean, wow. All right, well, we'll see. We're going to continue to cover this question. And I know that you'll be able to answer and explain it for everyone because some people have actually asked me this. A police officer is doing their job. They make a mistake. They end up charged with a crime. Somebody dies, right? And I think we all agree this was some level of a mistake, that she mistakenly grabbed her service weapon instead of her taser. Please, for everyone at home who has asked me this question, distinguish that from when a doctor negligently performs a surgery or some sort of procedure and a patient dies as a result of the actions of the doctor, why doctors are sued and police officers are charged with crimes.
Vinnie, you're talking to a former prosecutor turned civil attorney. So this is the difference between simple negligence. Simple negligence is that lowest civil standard under the law. But culpable negligence, that's what we call gross negligence, at least here in California. This goes above and beyond. This is something that isn't, the doctor made a mistake. This is the doctor operating on the wrong extremity. That's grossly negligent. Pulling out the wrong service weapon, taser versus firearm, that's grossly negligent. That's culpable negligence here in Minnesota, at least, and that's why it goes above and beyond. Don't get me wrong, Ben Crump, there will be a civil suit in this case, and that's a lower standard, but this goes to that next level, culpable negligence, but it doesn't get to that depraved mind, which would be that third-degree murder. We're not quite there yet.
How many police officers have killed members of the public, and how few of them get charged, and how few of them get convicted? Is that because only a few of them are factually guilty of committing crimes, or what exactly is going on in our system? Because Shedrick seems to think we need more examples of what could happen to a bad officer. So are bad officers getting away with it, or are these not crimes?
Well, the primary problem is prosecutors are used to winning. They like to take easy cases, and they're not willing to make the hard charging decisions. Coupled with the fact that juries love police officers. That's why you really have to give Keith Ellison credit here. This was a very difficult charging decision. I don't think a lot of folks would have done it. The county prosecutors didn't, and he stepped in and he did the right thing with the right team. So hopefully this will empower prosecutors to make those difficult charging decisions. A lot of prosecutors, the local county guys and girls, are elected officials. They don't want to lose cases. They don't want to lose constituent votes, but justice is much more important. For instance, depart downward and impose a sentence of less than 10 years, that's going to be a significant problem, and a lot of people will be upset, no question. So I agree with what she's saying, but this verdict, at least, the fact that these jurors, half of which were white, half of which were people of color and African American, came together and were able to convict them of all counts in a day, I mean, that says a lot.